Hey everybody, it's Samiwheeler. If you can't tell, I'm currently fighting off cats and wearing a giant ATV helmet because my other costume actually broke. Yeah. So, I was sitting outside for about 30 to 40 minutes, and I realized something. Let me take this thing off, because this is actually when I had the treats in. I was sitting out there on the curb with candy, waiting for trick-or-treaters. Shut up, Morris! I'm sorry, he's driving me nuts. He seriously is. I'm gonna... Give me a moment. Hey, Morris! Morris! Hey, guess what? Teddy bear! That's what. I'm sorry, I'm very irritated right now. So I was just sitting outside. Samiwheeler, by the way, and, the best I can explain this is I had candy, it was visible. Parents were driving by in their cars because it's raining, and I got splashed in the face about 8 times. Yet they stop at, like, every other house, and they're ignoring. And I had a freaking werewolf mask on. The damn stuff was very visible. And it was just fairly obnoxious to me, because I could see the children trick-or-treating from the car to the house, back to the car. This wasn't even just because it was raining. It's not really raining. It was literally like they were trained drones. I can't walk down. I mean, some of them actually made a move to go down the street further and were grabbed by their parents and thrown back in the car. Or damn near it. And, oh, by the way, trick-or-treating, it's only 3 hours now. 3 hours! What the fuck? And they have pre-coordinated routes. I just called my folks who are in own treehouse, and they've had 1 kid. 1 kid. I mean, and you're probably thinking, well, that can't be that big of a deal. I mean, come on. What are the chances that this is actually a common occurrence? Well, it actually is pretty common. I've noticed it. It's happened every year since, I'm sorry to say this, I'm sorry, but it's the truth, 9/11. There! I said it! Every single year since then, parents have seemingly gotten more and more restrictive. It started with the 1970s scare because the dad poisoned his kids with pixie sticks. Then there were the people in 2002, 2003, who decided spontaneously to put razor blades in candy and hand them out to the kids they hated. Which ruined it for everybody who made homemade candy up to that point, because now you can't even give away homemade candy, because people look at you like, you want to poison my child, you want to kill it. I don't want to kill your child, I just made this cookie. Now take the motherfucking cookie! The same thing with treats. I mean, it used to be, even 2 or 3 years ago, kids would actually walk with their parents trick-or-treating. Now it's literally, from the first 30 minutes, they get through town and they go home. They do not go for the full time. They go to pre-coordinated and organized houses. There is no trick-or-treating. There is mom and dad dropping you at the house that they think is good for you. You grab the candy and you go into the fucking car. That's what it is now. Trick-or-treating used to go till 11 at night where I grew up. You went out at 4. 4 o'clock. That's like, over 6 hours of treat time. And the 4 o'clock houses, oh, hell no. No, Morris, don't you dare, not right now. The 4 o'clock houses were the ones you hit last, because they're the ones, like right by your house, where everybody's still at work. Who is it? Give me a moment, I got a phone. I'll re-record this. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry, that was, a call from somebody important. So where was I? I believe it was on, 2011, parents starting to take over Halloween, and now it's to the point that the kids... I remember as a kid, people at apartment complexes did sit out on the street, and you walked around, and whoever was out and had a costume on and had candy, you got candy from them. There was decorations in front of the house. It was presumed there was probably candy there. That was quite literally how it went. And you could have home-baked goods, which a couple douchebags ruined for everyone. Yeah, we can no longer have pretzel or, you know, those cool little crunchy noodle spiders that were healthy for you. No more candied apples. No. Instead, we have to get processed food. Now, I'm actually going to that quick. Though parents ruined Halloween, the people who benefited from the essentially ruining it were actually the candy companies. If you think about it, without competitors from homemade chocolates and homemade sweets, which, as a kid, I remember this one lady literally made Her house was partitioned off because her family had all sorts of allergies, and everybody liked to have their own stuff. So she had literally a designated section for cooking gluten-free, lactose-free, red dye, something free, peanut-free, you name it. And because of this, around Halloween, she would spend about 5 days beforehand baking every kind of good you could imagine, one a day. She'd have them out for trick-or-treaters, and she'd have normal candy. I remember this very fondly because I had a lactose allergy from a very young age. Well, not really allergy, it's more intolerance. It's officially become an allergy recently. And I loved her because I couldn't eat half the candies. I also liked granola. So, this was the house that there was a line for. This was the house that you had to hit early. But these houses don't exist anymore because people like her were driven out of business by a few people being dicks. Quite simply, being horrible people and putting destructive things in candy. Very few. Did you know your chances of getting a razor blade or poisoned by homemade candy are less than that of getting poisoned by a Snickers bar? That's actually true. There is a better chance of you getting something weird in your processed candy than you getting hurt by homemade goods. But don't tell the parents that. That's where the parents come in. Though the candy companies profited from the change of only their candy, and notice after homemade goods were no longer in the picture, candy prices went up. All Halloween costs, all of it went from like, what was it, 98 cents, $1 something, to $5. They couldn't have done this if they had any competition. The thing is, they don't have competition anymore. They can jack it up as much as they want. And the other thing you'll notice, healthy treats, we used to have those popcorn ball options, and the fancy popcorn, and the granolas. They don't exist anymore. They were removed because the only reason they existed was to really compete with the homemade candy market, which was those few people making homemade candies through the years. Since they didn't have to do that anymore, they can just throw out processed shit. This is my personal opinion based on observation and the fact there were a few stories on the way back. So how do parents affect this and how did they destroy Halloween? Well, that's simple. They affected this by essentially making it impossible. Their panic and fear over isolated incidents, which were later proven to be done and aimed specifically at particular children. This was not I'm putting yucky stuff in everyone's candy situation. This was I'm putting it in specific pieces of candy and aiming it at specific kids. Your kids were not, it's just because they freaked out over this, we are in a situation where you can only get manufactured this. You can't get granola bars half the time anymore. You don't get raisins. And I liked the granola bars and raisins, by the way. I love the Halloween-themed ones. I mean, but it's like, and the same thing happened for Easter. You used to get Easter cakes from friends. Well, now if somebody gifts you an Easter cupcake or, a kid brings Easter cupcakes, the parents like, eh! So that's how parents kind of ruined it. They essentially went overboard in the protectiveness. And then they realized, oh my gosh, I can be protective of my kid? And the earlier they go in for Halloween and stop trick-or-treating, the more I can go party! So guess what happened? The parents realized that they didn't have to do anything. They realized, and what you've noticed over the past few years, it used to be a 10, 11 o'clock curfew, now it's 10, I think 2 years ago it was 9, a year ago it was 8, now it's 7. 7 p.m. is the cutoff for trick-or-treating. We went from, let's see, starts at 4 o'clock, ends at 7, so it's 3 hours now. Starts at 4 o'clock, ends at 11. You went from 7 hours of trick-or-treating in less than 15, 16 years to 3. 3. Now, not only that, you went from allowing kids to go door to door with you walking behind them. You heard me right, Halloween's exercise because you have to walk behind your kids. Oh, heaven forbid you have to do that. Nope. Nope, not doing that anymore. You'll notice only the fit parents do this, or the parents that actually have to walk and want to give their kid the full experience they had. No, now instead of doing that, they drive them everywhere. They drive them everywhere. No, kids are not allowed to pick the houses. The reason I got sprayed water on, there were ones that slowed down, and I think the kids were pestering them, I could hear them, and then they just left. You want to know why? Because the parents are picking and choosing exactly where the kids trick-or-treat now. It's safe or treat. It's not trick-or-treat. It's safe or treat. It's let's have fun and safety. And safety. And you know what? You can say the allergy thing concerning the homemade goodies, but that's why the people who make homemade goodies always had the regular trick-or-treating options as well. I mean, it's safe or treat. And it gets better. The age for trick-or-treating, when it's acceptable to trick-or-treat, has dropped. You have to stop now when you're 13. I remember you could keep going as long as you had a younger sibling or you were chaperoning till you were in your 20s. I haven't done this. But at the same time, it's very obnoxious because you see these kids trick-or-treating or safe-or-treating, and you remember being able to walk around like you did growing up and going to houses. And yes, sometimes your parents drove you, it was rainy, but they didn't drive you everywhere. I chaperoned a few kids last year, and you know what I found out? Parents drive you everywhere. You don't walk anywhere anymore. And there's less and less kids every year because the parents are only taking them to the specialty, Main Street things, and then they're ignoring all the houses. And then people close up shop because after 3 or 4 years of not getting any trick-or-treaters, you don't want to do it anymore. Those people I called, they're my folks. They are a known trick-or-treating house. They have candy like crazy. They're the people who give out 3 or 4 pieces of candy. Literally, these are the people who give out handfuls or half handfuls. They're a known house, and they've had 1 trick-or-treater today. And they have an hour and 10 minutes. And they're not going to get any more. And they've been less and less every year. And my parents loved trick-or-treating with me and my brother. And when they couldn't take us out anymore, they decided to see if other kids, but it's like no kids show up. And when they do, it's literally only to community places. No trick-or-treating at houses. If you're trick-or-treating at houses, it's literally like they're following a roadmap and they're not letting kids go out and go to new places or experience anything. Most importantly, they don't seem to let them walk anymore. Now, if you want one reason why the obesity crisis seems to increase around Halloween, believe it or not, eating candy and walking to get your next candy could be one hell of a workout. I remember lugging around, I think when I weighed at the end of the night, a 10-pound bag of candy. I hit the magic number 10. 10 pounds. I'm not kidding. It was a pillowcase. It was almost breaking. It was actually ripped at the bottom when I got home. 10-pound bag of candy. I was less than 3 foot tall. I was carrying around this giant bag of candy, and I had the strongest arms. I had muscles the next day. It was great exercise because you had to walk house to house. But they don't do that anymore. They drive a car. And because they drive a car, the parents get to pick and choose where they stop. So it doesn't really matter if you want to, Oh, actually, I thought of something really quick. I could have been Professor Snape. Maybe they would have, because my hair, I'm a girl, but the hair and the Professor Snape hair right now, because it's all shaggy. I could have done that. My eyebrows, too. But essentially, the result is parents are controlling trick-or-treating. They're choosing where they go. And because they're choosing where they go, they can choose when they quit. I'm not saying letting kids have free reign on trick-or-treat's a great thing, but letting them have some degree of control and getting free of the helicopter parents was always a good idea. Now, helicopter parents are driving their kids to trick-or-treat. And no, they're stalking them in their cars. They're literally, I understand not letting your kid out of your sight, but this is a little ridiculous. I got myself splashed with water by parents who had kids in the car, and I was out there with candy. Really. Seriously. Car intentionally hits puddle. I just go inside, and then when I call up my folks, find out a major trick-or-treating house isn't getting hit anymore, I give up. Sounds stupid? I don't think so, because parents are ruining trick-or-treating. It started in the 70s, it cooled off in the 80s, cooled off even more in the 90s, then 9/11 happened, then all the trick-or-treating fiasco issues happened, and now kids have 3 hours to trick-or-treat. Yep, 3 hours. Totally the same amount we had, right? No. Well, no, if you start at 4 and you end at 11, that's more like... That's 7 hours, yeah. So I'm only ranting about this because this is my Halloween special. This is bringing awareness to an issue. In America in particular, United States, and especially in the state where I live, which is Wisconsin, we have an issue in that the parents are helicopter hovering over their kids. I can understand driving them from street to street, but I don't understand picking and choosing exactly where you go and not allowing the kids to stop at places that are known trick-or-treat spots or anywhere with candy. And I really don't get the anti-homemade candy thing. To me, homemade candy was the best thing in trick-or-treating, and I guess nobody ever gets to experience it. And I think the most interesting thing is these parents will take their kids home, they'll plop them down in front of the TV, and a fair amount of them, because you know what happens at 7:20? All the parties start up. That's where the parents go. They go to the parties. They go out and they party. A fair amount of them actually will go and party. And then they get drunk at the parties at bars. It's very fascinating to me to see this because my parents didn't do that. They took me out for the hours of trick-or-treating. They didn't do that. Essentially, this is a destruction of Halloween by the parents, and the result's going to be kids don't want to trick-or-treat. And they don't want to take their kids trick-or-treating because it's not any fun. It's not really fun when mom and dad tell you on the one day of the year you're supposed to have some degree of free reign. Oh no, we're not stopping there. No, we're going to this house. You can't stop me. That's literally what's going on. I mean, and this is a huge issue. We're essentially losing. I mean, okay, and by the way, I am ready for you Christians telling me, bah, 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 pagan holiday, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. To me, as a kid, it was day of the year. And, oh, oddly enough, it was the only day of the year when I was a kid I never had a seizure. Not once. I'm serious. Though, oddly enough, the instant it hit around 1 o'clock the next day, I had one. I actually had that happen. That was very freaky. As a kid, that was the only day. So it's a very important holiday to me. Somewhat superstitial reasoning. However, this is the thing. Parents destroying Halloween. What's the side effects of this? Well, the side effects is less kids. No kid wants to go out when their parents helicopter hovering behind them, even for free candy. And definitely not when the parent tells them they can't stop at X house to get free candy. And then people stop putting candy out, which leads to less village or town or city trick-or-treating runs, which will lead to the death of Halloween. This video is sort of a memorial, and I kind of feel crappy about it because, as I said again, it was a kid, I loved it. I love the damn holiday. And the fact that parents are taking over and the time for trick-or-treating has literally decreased, and the amount of time that parents will spend partying has increased, tells me that parents are intentionally ruining Halloween. And this isn't right. I wish I could change it. I don't see this changing in the future. Honestly, I see the current generation of parents, the ones that aren't my age, but are a little bit older, a little bit younger, not really understanding, kind of destroying it for the rest of us. And especially the ones who remember the 1970 and 80s scares. I can totally see them ruining Halloween for the next few years. But I do kind of have hope to a degree that my group, the 17 to 25ers, if we ever decide to have kids, will actually bring it back. There's always hope there. And on that note, I would like to end this by saying my Halloween is going to be spent taking pictures in a graveyard. Not creepy at all. Nope. No, it's not creepy that I'm going to wear a wig, a cape, freaky fangs. No, I don't have my fangs anymore. They actually fell down the sink. I'm going to wear the wig, the cape, I've got a black veil, I'm going to put on undead makeup, and I'm just going to hang around in the graveyard because I can, and because I get some really cool Nightstone pictures, I'm going to walk around town and see the reactions on people's faces. So, that's going to be my Halloween, really. Yeah, I just kind of feel crappy for the damn kids. I mean, they're never going to experience the Halloween I experienced as a kid. And most of you probably did, if you're like, they'll never experience it. They will experience the helicopter version of Halloween, and they'll never want to do that to their kids. And they'll think it's normal. So, parents, you tried a long time to take over Halloween. Congratulations. You've succeeded. You have just probably killed the holiday. I would like to say, good job, everybody. Wonderful. The safety and obsession over safety of children on a day where there are the lowest kidnap and attack rates of any other day of the year because there are so many parents out and so many witnesses. The destruction of probably the one day of the year. Your kids were most likely safer than any other. The destruction of a holiday that gave kids a chance to dress up in costumes and be something else. Not only that, the destruction of the ability to give treats to others that you made yourself, and hijacking the holiday so you can get drunk and or knocked up. That is unforgivable to me. Halloween holds a very special place in my memories from childhood. Knowing it is probably destroyed irreparably, or at least for the next 15 to 20 years until my generation gets enough money to change it, it irritates me almost as much as the current financial crisis, our current set of politicians in the United States, my current, everything else going on in my life, the fact that my books are not where they should be, which is a big tweaker. I mean, it really irritates me, and I just want to tell everybody, parents, the safety obsession, the literal, really don't happen much lies perpetuated in the media, causing people to be terrified of homemade treats, everything. It's gonna end with the death of Halloween. Do you know stores are actually trying to push Halloween out before Halloween even hits now because it's no longer selling, because it's become such a protective holiday? That's a bad sign. This is a 20-minute video by Samiwheeler essentially ranting on how parents and or the corporate marketplace has destroyed Halloween. I am now about to go out and scare the bejesus out of people walking by a graveyard. Hopefully it stops raining so I can do that. I hope everybody who's watching this had a good Halloween. I'm sorry I didn't get the scary movie things I promised to get up. A lot of stuff happened in my life. I will quickly sum that up actually right now. On Sunday, my mother's cat and our family pet of 17 years had to be put down, and it really, I haven't been able to function quite right since. So, I'm currently in the grieving process, and my work really started getting heavy, so the announcement I made over the weekend turned out not to quite work out right. I will get scary movie posters up for probably some other random date, but not today. Not the things I promised. All you guys are getting is a random rant on how parents destroyed Halloween. And speaking of this, I would like you guys to answer the question, if you've made it the full 20 minutes, do you believe helicopter parents, controlling parents, and the parents who won't let their kids make their own choices anymore, yet allow them to sit in front of the computer and everywhere and do whatever they want online, are ruining Halloween? Do you believe that this Halloween ruining epidemic may be related to the fact that adult-themed parties are increasing in percentage and are actually starting earlier as Halloween trick-or-treating hours get shorter and end earlier? Do you believe that this will end in the death of Halloween, or will it essentially go kind of dormant for a few years? And next year, I want to try to throw a Halloween party. Even though I'll be out of college and in a job, I'd actually like to try to throw one. So any tips for that? It sounds juvenile, but for hell's sake, I'm going to carve a freaking pumpkin tonight solely to get the innards out to make pie and then turn it into a punch bowl. Probably should wait till tomorrow. Anyway, this is Samiwheeler, and please answer those questions we can, and any of your opinions on this topic. Do you believe parents are killing Halloween? Why? What's the point? And who here agrees that the whole thing over the helicopter parent thing and the issue with homemade treats is kind of irrational? Just a little. It's been Samiwheeler. Have fun, kids. Watch the scariest movies you can, and traumatize yourselves for life. Bye!